This year is nuts.
Supercharges your intuition, making those fleeting thoughts and sudden, knowing moments impossible to ignore. You might sense things before they happen, feel drawn to certain people or places, or experience uncanny clarity about decisions you've been wrestling with. Trust it.
So shocked to learn in the research that the opposite of belonging is fitting in. Because fitting in is assessing a group of people and thinking, who do I need to be? What do I need to say? What do I need to wear? How do I need to act? And changing who you are. And true belonging never asks us to change who we are. It demands that we be who we are.
Hello. Hi. Welcome. Feel free to take a seat. We're just about to start. Help yourself to water and snacks on the table as well. Okay. Rightio. Welcome, everyone, to our Autistic Adults Support Group, or AA for short. Not to be confused, obviously, with Alcoholics Anonymous, who have the space on Wednesdays. Sorry. It's always a pleasure to see a new face among us. Perhaps I can ask you for an introduction? Just how you identify yourself. Are you diagnosed autistic or self-diagnosed, maybe? Or?
None of the above. I'm here for someone else.
Oh, no, of course, great. Family members and friends are always welcome here. Right. Maya, I think we were talking about your situation at work the other day. Do you want to continue with that?
At work, I'm masking continually. I have to take myself off to hide in the toilets to avoid burning out or having a meltdown. It's like...
One of the women I work with, sorry. One of the women I work with, she showed me some photos. She asked me if I liked a dog. And the only thing I could think of to say was, it's better looking than your baby.
At least your colleagues interact with you. Most of the time in my workplace, people ignore me, or they speak to me like I'm stupid.
You have an open university degree in accounting and finance, Theo.
Yeah, but I have a job in the post room. So maybe I am stupid.
I often wonder if I should reveal my diagnosis or risk being overwhelmed in situations where others may not understand what I'm experiencing.
Just I feel like I'm not doing anything right, and I don't know.
Self-doubt, the way Patience is describing it, is common. But perhaps for us, due to trauma in the past, it can be extreme. We can be drawn to thinking in absolutes.
Everything is all or nothing.
Yeah. Your father was a police officer, Patience, and a decorated one at that.
So that's a lot to live up to.
And in terms of the Aquarian energy, just in the last couple of days, in fact, several people have sent this to me, and I highly recommend to every single one of you that you listen to this. You may have come across it already. It's called the Telepathy Tapes. And you can get it free on various audio platforms like Spotify, like Apple Podcasts. Very easy to find. I'll put the link for the website below, the Telepathy Tapes. And essentially, this is documentary research into severely autistic, largely non-verbal young people who were thought to be disabled or handicapped or less than the rest of us, and often put into, special homes or drugged or, awful, awful things, really sidelined in society. And this research is uncovering that these people are operating at a genius level. They are super processors. They are savants. They're calling them savants, the wise people. And I don't want to spoil the surprise, really. I mean, there's so much in these, because series of, I think there are 8 episodes already, and they last between 40 to 50 minutes long. You can listen to when you're having your shower, making your food, whatever. I just devoured them. I couldn't stop listening. And they are thrilling on so many levels. I mean, episode 6 is particularly delightful, I have to say. But all of them, listen to all of them, because I've been anticipating, as you know, that when Pluto went into Aquarius, we would be in paradigm-shattering times. The telepathy tapes are one big step into paradigm-shattering times, because they're starting to shatter our understanding of consciousness in so many ways, on so many levels. And there's a lot more to come from this research. I think new episodes are coming out every couple of weeks. So this is so Aquarian. Firstly, it's Eris. Nobody will be sidelined. Everybody will have a voice. Eris has been in a very strong long-term square to Pluto. This is now coming good. Every voice has to be heard. And these severely autistic nonverbal people, I think, are turning out to be our teachers. We're the ones who are limited. They have much greater multidimensionality than we do, and access to, as I say, many different dimensions of consciousness, apparently, if you follow the research, than most of us do. It is absolutely, honestly, I just devoured them today. And so they're very, autistic people in a way are very linked to Aquarian energy, because Aquarian energy can appear to be emotionally detached, but actually these young people have massive hearts and a massive amount of love. They are genius. They operate out of the box. They are peripheral on society. They don't fit in. They're outsiders. They're mavericks. They're kind of strange ones that we've thought of in that respect. But Aquarius is also linked to higher mind. And these incredible young people have a whole telepathic network globally, actually. So they are going to teach us so much. And I think this is just the absolute beginning of this particular aspect of having our paradigm shattered, in terms of what we are going to learn, partly through these amazing people, about consciousness, about our divinity, and about our cosmos. We are just at the start of a 19-year journey, but boy, that was a big ignition point for me today. So I'll put the link below, and then off you go and you can explore. But really exciting in terms of what is being revealed in this research documentary.
Device. We have to show how the mind works.
Akhil, do you like it better if I type to you on this or when I talk to you with words?
Manisha demonstrates for me that using his app to type directly to him is sometimes the best way to get into the flow with Akhil, better than talking to him verbally.
You said up until age 11, he was nonverbal, but he was understanding everything.
He was comprehending everything, but he did not have a way to show us. So he goes to this new school and they introduced him to something called supported typing. It's very controversial and I had no clue. And they had 40 children already typing in the school. He goes for his first typing session. So they just gave him a little bit of support from here. And with that support, he typed 4 lines.
Manisha is showing me how the teacher would support the bottom of Akhil's wrist when he first started typing.
So the school teacher called me next day and said, you know what, we are doing the supported typing program with Akhil. But I said, he doesn't know his letters. He said, of course he knows his letters.
So by 11, Akhil had already been through 2 different schools, and this new school started to teach Akhil to communicate via typing. Manisha didn't believe it. She didn't think it was possible because for a decade, all the other schools had told her that he doesn't know any numbers or letters.
The school teacher called and said, why didn't you come and check it out? I said, okay. So I go there. She shows me how to do it. I see it and I'm still unsure about it. So almost a month or 2 months passed. Akhil was typing in school with the teacher. We just had 2 choices. Should we believe in this communication or should we not believe in this communication?
and she hedged a bet, and she tried typing with him alone at their house. And something clicked.
I had to literally look into his eyes and told him that I trust you.
She went against every professional opinion in her life and made the choice to presume competence. And everything changed between them.
I don't know what happened, but things clicked between me and Akil. And we started our journey. And then I would ask him many questions.
So you knew he was typing for real?
Yes, but if you go and search about supported typing, it would be all very controversial.
Okay, because supported typing, maybe you could just explain it again. It's when you have the help and support of a therapist, but from what I understand it, the controversy is, oh, well, the therapist is pushing their hand.
Correct. It starts from here, then support comes here, then support comes here.
Manisha is showing me that when Akil first started typing, pressure was put on his wrist, then it was moved to his forearm, then to his elbow, and then to his shoulder. Though Akil learned to converse via supported typing, there are various methods of typing to communicate. The original method was called facilitated communication, and that received the most criticism due to the amount of touch involved. There's also rapid prompting method and spelling to communicate. Many in this world just simply say spelling to keep things easy, and it's common to refer to individuals who communicate this way as spellers. And the reason spelling works is because you're using your body to point to a letter, and that's a gross motor skill, versus verbally speaking, which is a fine motor skill.
And we believe in him. And we said, you know what, we are going to presume competence.
And thank God they presumed competence, because now Akil can type totally on his own into an iPad or computer without anyone touching him. Once Akil could communicate, Manisha and her husband got to learn about Akil in a whole new and intimate way. And one of the most shocking but helpful things he told them was that he didn't realize he had a body.
But Akil was not aware of his body. He made a statement, I cannot see my body in my mind.
And how did you teach him to see his body?
And we started touching him. And I started touching each finger. He realized, oh, I have hands and fingers and they move.
I love this visual of Manisha rubbing his hands and fingers, and then Akil realizing, oh, I have hands and fingers and they move. There's just no way he could have conveyed this type of disconnect without being able to communicate.
And then he started saying, oh, I have a body, but the body in my mind doesn't move.
Akil talks a lot about the mind-body disconnect, and this was how he articulated it for the first time, that the body he sees in his mind doesn't move when he asks it to do so.
And so when did everything start with telepathy? Like, when did you realize he could read your mind?
I could feel that he is reading my thoughts. Mm-hmm. He has a capacity to read my mind. In fact, like one day he was in school and he typed with me and said, oh, you had gone out today. And then he started typing everything he knew. I went to Walmart. I didn't get things there. Then I went to Target. So everything, like my life was like an open book.
So you were like, where did I go today? And he said Target, Walmart.
Yeah, he knew everything. I didn't even tell him anything, and that's why then I was like, oh my God, I called my husband and said, what is this? My life is an open book. And that's why I got convinced that this is telepathy. And then I started reading more about it. It was very hard to find answers for this.
This has become a familiar refrain by parents who discover their kids have telepathy. There's just not much information about this out there. So Manisha turned to people within the community, others who she'd met through the spelling world.
So people who are from the supported typing world, I went and I asked, what is happening when I'm near Akil? What is my field and what is Akil's field? Why do my thoughts and his thoughts become identical?
The specificity of her question is important. What is his field versus what is my field? She's not asking what's his body and what's my body, or his thoughts or my thoughts. It's more about how are they merging.
And she said, it's like these kids are using your blackboard. So they use your mental space. So this is a dimension which is beyond science for me.
My son said to me, I can hear thoughts.
What is this phenomena happening? Why are his mind and my mind completely connected?
Telepathy is the tip of the iceberg with their spiritual gifts.
People don't understand that they can do this. They don't even have to be in the same room, the same zip code.
For decades, a very specific group of people have been claiming telepathy is happening in their homes and in their classrooms. And nobody has believed them. Nobody has listened to them. But on this podcast, we do. A growing number of scientists propose a new paradigm, suggesting that consciousness is the foundation of the universe, predating everything else. If this is true, it opens up an explanation for telepathy clairvoyance, savant skills, and even the survival of death. Given that non-speakers can communicate telepathically, could they be more attuned to this foundational consciousness? And if so, do they hold the key to validating this new emerging scientific paradigm?
People always say that these kids have disabilities, and it's funny because it's actually us that has the disability. They have these abilities that we don't have. The mind reading and, all the other stuff that comes with that.
This is Maura. She lives near Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and she has a 10-year-old daughter named Amelia. Maura and I both stumbled into this world right around the same time, both by the way of Dr. Diane Powell. She was a mother seeking answers, and I was a filmmaker searching for them too. And we became close due to our shared wide-eyed curiosity. We are both very logical and don't take anything at face value, and we had many conversations early on comparing notes about what we were learning and hearing and what could possibly be true and real. Beyond that, our lives were just kind of in the same place. We both have daughters that were born days apart. We both have families and roots in the Midwest. Maura works in advertising, loves the outdoors, and she's not devout or dogmatic about anything. She's the type of person that makes everyone feel disarmed and comfortable.
What's really hard as a parent is when you get a diagnosis, like Amelia has DDX3X syndrome, and some of the traits are intellectual disabilities, developmental delays, autism is a trait of that, a list of all the things that they're not going to be able to do or all the challenges that they're going to face.
And yet, so often the doctors and schools don't get it right. They assume because a child can't talk or has a difficult time controlling their body that they're not competent. And that is far from true.
With Amelia, she is the opposite of having intellectual disability. She's brilliant. She is very aware. She's very emotionally intelligent. But her body doesn't demonstrate that. Everything that you're seeing falls in line with what you've been told.
Thankfully, Maura and Mike looked beyond the diagnosis and found their daughter. Talked for a while, and then I asked what made her initially think that Amelia might be reading her mind.
I asked her questions that she would have no reason to know the answer.
For instance, one Monday, Amelia knew that Jody had an oven fire over the weekend and burnt a cake.
I asked her, I said, how do you know that? And she said, I read your mind. And I was like, oh, you read my mind. And so then I would ask her more difficult questions that I knew for sure I didn't just mention in passing or it had literally just happened.
One time, Jody was late to school. And when she got there, she said, you would not believe the reason why I'm late. And Amelia picked up her talker.
And she typed 3 turkeys.
And sure enough, 3 turkeys had waddled into the road, making Jody late.
She also knows if I look at something and I ask her, what did I look at? She'll know things like that too. Again, I can't explain that, but I would say I was definitely not so much a believer to completely convinced this is what she's doing.
And like most non-speakers that I've met, telepathy is just the tip of the iceberg. And in time, Amelia revealed that she knows other things, like she can understand multiple languages.
She wrote in Portuguese. She often writes in Spanish. She, in one sentence, went from Spanish to English to Portuguese.
And how does she say she knows that?
She'll either say God taught her or the gods, plural. And she says that he teaches her at night. Sometimes she will say she was born knowing that. And one time I did ask her, I said, so you knew it as a baby? And she said before. So whatever she was referring to.
When Amelia was younger, she used to tell us that she would see the god or the gods at night and she would learn things from them. Recently, I asked her about, different religions and different gods and different things that people believed. And I asked her, do you think that there are multiple gods out there? Or is it just one god or one being that everybody has a different name for? And she typed different names.
And again, oftentimes I don't push a lot of that because I don't want to accidentally be steering her one way or another. So whatever she says, I tell her mom. And then her mom will ask more follow-up questions to get more information.
So Jody often gives us updates after their sessions if anything interesting or noteworthy happens. And this one is about the different languages that Amelia speaks.
And to me, this is fascinating because there are actually 3 therapists in the room. Jody, and then 2 that you haven't met, Allie and Sydney.
Allie showed Amelia some Hebrew, and Amelia read it and translated it. So Allie showed her again today, and Amelia typed out what it meant. I said, but who taught you Hebrew? And she typed the rabbi. Then I asked if there was anything else she could read. She wrote hiero. I said hieroglyphics, and she wrote, yes, pictures. So Allie pulled up a few letters, and we showed them to Amelia, and she knew what letters they were written in hieroglyphics. And they were ones that they hadn't looked up the meaning of yet. They just pulled them up. and identified them after. Allie asked her if she saw these letters before, if it was the first time, and she wrote first time. I asked her who told her about hieroglyphics, and she said the god told.
I asked Maura if she tried to press any deeper.
She tends to be better at understanding versus speaking languages.
Why do you think that is?
So I had this interesting theory and the whole idea of consciousness. So if her baseline is talking telepathically to people, she is technically translating it into English. Yes. And having to put words to something that just is.
If there's no language in the realm of fundamental consciousness, which why would there be? Because from my understanding, there's no bodies there. It just is consciousness. Then all communication would be via telepathy.
The way that she talks, the language that she uses is, it's almost like she's translating.
So it's almost then like she can pick up on any language because she's not focused on the words. She's focused on the emotion and the meaning and symbolism behind the words, which then makes sense. You could pick up any language.
I had this conversation with her recently about this. My question to her was, are you actually hearing those words in that language and like able to translate and understand that language, or are you just telepathically understanding that?
Yes. What did she say?
She said that she telepathically could hear them.
The thing that fascinates me about this theory is that so many spellers use language that feels poetic and almost old. Like sometimes it almost feels Shakespearean, and other times it feels like it's from the time of the Torah. And a lot of people that work with spellers, including teachers, talk about this.
They have a way of speaking, a style of speaking that is not of this earth. It's not English grammar.
This is Carrie, the teacher from Pennsylvania that you met in episode 5.
There's a lightness to it. There's often love infused with it. There's wisdom in there always.
The vocabulary and the construct of her sentences is often very different. And so anybody that spends enough time with her recognizes this very quickly.
And for me personally, getting to know each speller is beautiful and fascinating because their personality is wrapped in this wise and ancient language, but their tangible, age-appropriate personality always does shine through. For instance, with Amelia,
she has said quite a few funny things. So again, she always tells me about these God visits, as she calls them, that happen at night. And so I said, did he talk to you again last night? And she said, yes, unfortunately. And then she does ...
And sometimes what Amelia says is laced with heaviness.
Sometimes if she looks tired, I'll ask her, did you sleep okay last night? And she almost always says no. And I'll say, well, why not? And she'll say that she had a God visit. And she will say that she's being told things that are going to happen, and then they actually do happen.
As the skill sets far exceed telepathy, the clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, all of those clairs give this population the ability to experience life and reality in ways that most neurotypical individuals don't even consider possible. The ability to heal, the ability to see into another, telekinesis, the ability to converse with and interact with other realms. All of this is just commonplace for this population.
And yet, despite these gifts that are remarkable, Amelia, just like all the other spellers, is a human being first.
And for those interested, I have recommended this book repeatedly, Autism and Sensing, The Unlost Instinct by Donna Williams. And you can watch the video on her channel. But what she wrote basically puts it all together. The realm of sensing is the place we have all come from. That world before mind was thought of as me, before body became mine. That time when we knew because we felt the nature of things, the feel of them when we sensed. This was before we had learned to interpret and see the world not as it was, but through our concepts and ideas of what it was. My world equals one's own world. This is our first world. Before all of this, later cladding and contortions, it is at first a place of sensing, beingness. the pre-conscious mind, an unknown knowing. It is the place where we understand self in others and others in self through the skill of mergence. The external world equals the physical world known through our sensory experiences as processed through our bodies, brains, and experienced as sensations, thoughts, emotions, connections. This is a directly hands-on world where sensing and beingness may be relatively strongly intact. The interpretive world equals the world of applied meaning to incoming experiences that progressively builds mental structures and frameworks that ultimately filter our direct sensed experiences of the physical world and develops conscious mind as the primary guide. And then the ego world, ego contortion that further clads, alters, and filters the logical meaning we get from experiences of the physical world and further buries our original capacity for sensing and beingness. This can be indoctrination, culture, economics, identifications, rewards, honed addictions, and competition for social, economic, cultural currency. End of quote.